As I'm preparing my fifth and final book, The Show Must Go On, I'm combing through stories. One of the benefits to life and career is while you can't connect the dots forward, you can connect the dots backwards, and you can look at some of the experiences and the lessons, the things that were really tough sitting in the moment, but they make all the sense in the world now in hindsight. Also, in the spirit of just having seen the finale of Ted Lasso, the theme today is goodbyes. The Clash even wrote a song about it. Should I stay or should I go? Um, it can be quite the conundrum. I've left roles. Sometimes it was the right move. Sometimes it wasn't, but then turned out to be. But anytime you leave anywhere, you make a move for another role, you leave a company, there's risk involved. And so the key element is to look at, what are the things that you're gambling? What are you giving up? The deal that you have with your current organization and team and leaders and customers, the projects, the way that you're living your passion. Are you willing to give that up to go over here to an unknown entity where maybe the grass looks greener in a certain area, but does it make more sense to water the grass you're on? Tough decisions. So, a couple of things that I've thought about when I've been faced with decisions. Now, earlier in my career, I didn't have the network that I have today. I realized too late for at least one move that I made that I needed to develop more quality relationships and develop a brand that was synonymous with what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be known for. So when it comes to goodbyes and making moves, where it made sense for me and where it was definitely the right play, it really came down to challenges, mastery of craft. Did I have anything else to achieve? Years ago, I was working at a call center. I was promoted from a sales rep to a sales manager. I had 6 people on my team when I started. That grew to 12, then it grew into the 20s, it grew into the 30s. I had over 40 people on my team as a sales manager, a first-line sales manager at one point. And I was actually in the midst of talking to my manager about taking on 52. It's just a challenge that I wanted. I needed challenges. I was thinking about Michael Jordan, huge fan of MJ, greatest of all time, no question. And he's the greatest competitor ever. I loved the fact that he was able and willing to walk away at the top of his game to go do something that everybody thought he was crazy to do. That was something that he and his father had always wanted him to do, and he had always envisioned for himself. And he went out and played baseball and would have been a major leaguer if it hadn't been for the strike and if he'd have just stuck it out. But he went back and won more championships as the greatest of all time. Now, compare and contrast, I'm no Michael Jordan, but at the same time, I find that it's important to give those people that you trust, your leadership, other leaders, and, we've talked a lot about listening to what leadership is saying. There's a lot of challenges sitting right there in front of you. So there's always things that you can do to be better at your craft. You double down on your passions, or you decide to shore up where you're weak and you want to be strong. Or a combination of the two, finding balance. But there's always challenges. And I would always go to my manager, my bosses, and I would ask for new challenges. I needed things to continue to keep me sharp, to keep me at the top of my game, to keep me chasing something. Because after a while, it's not as fun to just be number one every month, crushing goal, taking on more and more people onto your team. Eventually you run out of things to do. Now, I will have to say this, that I find it hilarious. I've seen, there's a post from the past that sticks out in my head. Somebody that made this post talking about how they had never missed goal in their entire career and all this. And, I was once cut from that cloth. I missed goal. And I'm going to talk about that in a future episode. So watch out for that. I missed goal once. And what's interesting to me is that if you haven't missed goal, have you truly been challenged? Fair question, in my opinion. If you haven't missed goal, have you truly been challenged to the furthest extent? Because there's a lot to be said as well for leaving it all on the field, knowing that you put the best product out there, knowing you did everything you could and having zero regret about the result. But my point is, there's always more to do. And likely, if you challenge yourself, there's more to do in your current role, whether you're wanting to run for the hills because of something that happened that you didn't like, or because you're bored. So number one, really try to stimulate some challenges that you can go after. That said, I think there's a lot of value in knowing your worth in the market and starting to look for different opportunities and different things that might be the next right role. And, it's okay to flirt in these cases. You would never know the value that you have in the market if you don't have conversations, make relationships, talk to people that might be outside of your business unit, outside of your organization, get different perspectives. When I've been faced with challenges and changes, I've always scorecarded it. And I've even had scenarios where I scorecarded maybe the top 5, top 10 priorities that I had for my current role, pros and cons versus this new proposed role. And the new role won, but my gut still told me to stay where I was. And it might have been for a variety of reasons, leaders that I gravitated toward, something in my current deal that was really compelling me to stay. I've been really, really fortunate in my career, but I've also turned down a few of the largest brands in the world. I've been very fortunate in that regard. And overall, the sum of the parts, I'm really happy with what I get to do. I remind myself every day of how fortunate I am. And I get to do what I love for one of the greatest brands in the entire world, if not the greatest. So I have no qualms about my current position, but certainly where I've seen opportunities to change in the past, go to this competitor, maybe get this higher raise, this salary, there's actually only been one time where it was an offer I couldn't refuse, and I refused it. And what ultimately ended up happening was someone in my hierarchy, a great, great leader, actually wanted me to stay badly enough that they countered and made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. It's amazing how life turns out. If you give your all and you challenge yourself every day with what's in front of you, and you can have these other conversations, you can go down the path, you can entertain offers. You need to judge, is this situation, am I confident? How confident am I that this situation is better than what I do today? And don't make it about everybody else or the show. We get very tied up sometimes in what it looks like if, on social media, we're able to post, I'm doing this, I'm leaving for that. And we give the perception of greener pastures when they're really not. A lot of times we can infuse our passions into what we do, find great ways to live what we want to live and bring value to everybody that we touch that really fulfill us. We can do that right here. And there's a lot of magic in that. So a lot of times I've known when it was time to say goodbye and look for different roles, when I had no more challenges that I could conjure up for myself or that others could present to me. Nothing else I could conquer from a metrics or a leaderboard standpoint. No new skills that I felt were pertinent to learn in that role, and I was the obvious choice for the next role. When I've left companies, it hasn't been often, but it's been because I knew that there was just not a cultural fit. I knew that there were other things that I could better live out my dreams, but also add more value and impact people more positively. And hence that was why I made the move. I actually had a 1 year where I won an award and my role changed so dramatically. It in essence ceased to exist. And while I was fortunate to still have a role, that's what prompted me to start looking for other things. Sometimes we need that catalyst to look for the next place that we're going to fulfill our dreams, live our passions, and impact others positively. Good luck.